Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll just give a few minutes for everybody to join. Okay, since we are already a few minutes late from the start, let's kick off the webinar. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. As I can see, we have people from all around the world, and we have panelists from all around the world. And welcome to today's webinar, which is called Ready to Join the Fourth ACDA Cohort. And you're welcome to hear from our experiences as alumni and current students of the AIB-CIBER Doctoral Academy, and we will give you some tips for a standout application for applying to be the part of the cohort. So before we start, I just shortly want to introduce my wonderful friends and colleagues who are here with us today. So we have Giuseppe Pirone from joining us from Italy. We have Daniela Rivera Piedra joining us from Vienna. We have Emily joining us from the States as well. And we have Raj, who is from India, but he's in the States as well. So welcome to everybody. And my name is Katerina. I am currently in Macedonia and going to Finland in 2 days. So quite an international panel, I would say. Okay, just before we start, a few notes I would like to give you how the webinar will go. So first, we will go through a short presentation about what the AIB-CIBER Doctoral Academy is, for those who are not that familiar with the Academy. Then we'll hear from each of the panelists about their reflections hesitate to post any question that you might have while we are doing the presentation or while our panelists are presenting their reflections. So I would share my screen now. Just give me a second, please. Apologies if my sound is breaking a little bit. There are some technical issues, but hopefully I will manage to stay here. Okay. So, welcome to the AIB-CIBER Doctoral Academy. So what's the AIB-CIBER Doctoral Academy? The AIB-CIBER Doctoral Academy is a 2-year program founded by the Academy of International Business in partnership with 8 leading universities in international business. It was founded in 2023, and we currently are recruiting for the 4th cohort, as I mentioned before. Here we have panelists from the 3 cohorts. 2 of the cohorts are already graduated. The one is starting their year 2 in September. So the Academy is PhD students from all around the world. Although the flagship is international business, the Academy is open to all the business and management disciplines in general. So we will see that all of us are coming from disciplines adjacent to an academy. So over the 2 years, all the classes are online. We have a few events that are taking place in person, which usually happen during the AIB annual meeting. At the end of the academy, each of the successful participants will get a certificate of completion. So why choose to attend this academy? First of all, to elevate your experience and your knowledge in international business, to gain access to a global limited network, so very exclusive network of global scholars all around the world, and as well to add something to your CV, which is the certificate that you are going to get at the end. As I said, this is a partnership between the AIB and leading institutions in international business, which you can see now on the screen. And let's give you a little bit of overview of the academy. So it goes throughout 2 years and it covers 8 modules. All of the modules, as I mentioned, are online and they're led by the leading scholars in our field, including Professor Tamer Czavush, Professor Rebecca Piacari, Professor Sharp Budlis, and many, many legends, let's say, in our field. So this is what the 2 years look roughly. So the year 1 starts September, October, which is the orientation. Then from November, the classes start. And the mentoring. So besides the 8 modules, you are getting one-to-one mentorship with a leading scholar throughout the 2 years, and that you can work on your employability skills, on your research skills, and just have a body that will help you navigate throughout your PhDs and PhD studies and later on the job market. The first year covers the first 3 modules. The second year covered the next 4 modules, and module 8 is one that goes throughout the 2 years. This is the overview of the modules. I won't stick too much to this slide. You can find this on the ACDA website, which you can see at the bottom of the screen. And we can later talk about each module in more details if you wish. So why enroll? As I said, to expand your doctoral education, to develop deeper expertise in IB, in research methods, in teaching in IB, all led by world-class scholars. And being a PhD student sometimes can be hard to get, especially if you're coming from a developing country with not that many resources to attend conferences or other events to network with scholars internationally. And you will earn a certificate of completion, as I mentioned several times, to add to your CV. What are the program expectations? So each module is 2 to 3 weeks long. So it is required for you to actively participate in the modules. So that would mean attend the class, do some work before and after each of the class, do readings, and do a final task that will be given from the professors. The preparation is approximately 30 hours for each of the class, which includes, as I said, readings and some presentations to be prepared by your own or in groups. And the program is $3,000 for the complete program for the 2 years. And the AIB is offering competitive scholarships to exceptional applicants, let's say, to help them with subsidize the cost of the program. So I will stop here, and we will talk about the application, which is already open, and I will hand the microphone to Raj now, who will introduce himself and give his reflections on the program. Raj, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Katrina. First of all, I would like to invite and say a thanks to all the members who have joined our webinar. Myself, Raj Mohan. I very recently finished my PhD in Strategy and the International Business from Indian Institute of Management, Indore, which is in India. And seriously, I'm the part of the third ACDA cohort, and I really enjoyed it. So basically, my research looks at the pro-market reforms in emerging market, corporate sustainability, and how artificial intelligence is going to make the strategic choices and how it is going to impact it. So really glad to be here to share what the Academy has meant from an emerging market vantage point. Coming to my reflection, what the doors has actually this ACDA opened. Like for you guys or like me, when you do a PhD in the international business and that's from an emerging market, the hardest thing you all people are going to is not the work. Actually, it's about the proximity. And proximity to what? Like proximity to the scholars who define your field or to the conversations which is happening at the frontiers of international business. Apart from that, it's the proximity to the critical mass of people who care about the like same type of questions you do. So it is very much a requirement that what you are doing, who are your peers, and what is your proximity to them. So how does the ACDA actually help me? It has actually collapsed that distance for me and it bring me much more nearer to those people. Very concretely, actually it has put me in the same room, like the same live Zoom sessions that I am doing with all my friends. One-to-one mentoring is there. Like you can see some of the mentors like I know is there with me in the cohort third. So apart from that, in live Zoom sessions, you have the world-class IB faculty. They are like from top colleges. You can find them from Georgia State, Leeds. Then Katrina is going to join the Aalto University. So if you need any information, it is just like at the quick of your hand. So as a doctoral student sitting in India, in Indore, a very small city, this kind of direct repeated access to the senior scholars is like simply not something I could manufacture or I could just get at the instant of time. But apart from that, the doors opening, there is a really important constraint also, and how ACDA has offset that. Like first, the thinness of the local IB community. Like you are early in the career, somebody is there in like first or second year. You can understand like at any home institutions in the emerging markets, you might be like one of the very few people just working in the IB, and you can feel like you are having a conversation with the literature, but it's not like with the actual people itself. So ACDA has actually it's given me a standing international cohort where like you have the peers from across the continent, countries, and who can read your work and push you back. Like they have also challenged me that my research question and the framing is not good. I have to do in a much better way. So this cohort, apart from the world-class faculties, you have the world-class friends also. Second, like exposure to the premium conference and the community. Just like last month, we all have attended AIB conference in Manchester itself. So this program also connects you like into the AIB, which is like a flagship global conference for the IB academics or for the JIPS article, that is Journal of International Business Studies, which is the FT50 article. Along with that, like there is an active network of emerging scholars, and for someone who is traveling and conference budgets are going to be very much tight, having that channel open to you like changes what you feel is possible. And you all get to know that this ACDA, this is also going to give you the travel stipend to attend the AIB conferences. Thirdly, that is up-to-date methods and the framing. 2 months ago, I still remember like how Bibbles, short Bibbles, like how he has taught like the quantitative method, and I can still remember each and every slide because I'm basically a quantitative researcher. So the research method and the theory modules, which is meant like I wasn't just relying on whatever is happened or taught at the home. I was just calibrating my own work against a genuine international standard or who are at the frontier of this industry. There is one honest challenge also. Like I will be honest about that one. Like early one, it's very easy to feel a step behind our peers from resource rich institutions, and basically those who are in America like Emily, Daniela, they are from US itself. So people who have had 2 years of structured coursework that generally happens in the Western world, or a department which is full of IB scholars down the corridor. So what I learned is that the gap is real, but actually it's not real, but it's not fixed actually. The cohort is deliberately built so that a different starting point becomes a different contribution. Like how it has helped me, like my emerging market trends, and I'm living with the pro market reforms and the sustainability questions rather than just reading about them. And it turned out like something which I can give to the cohort, not just like a deficit to close. So it's a vantage point for me. So, in closing remarks, I must say that if I had to put it in one line for anyone of you who is applying from a developing country, this ACDA, they are not going to ask you or pretend the constraints that are they are not there. The constraints will always be there, but it gives you the network, the mentoring, and there will be the standing to work around them. And so that's what is going to changed for me, and it's genuinely available to you all also, and it's going to change your path if you will fail it. So this is my own reflections and how I thought about ACDA, and it's like a great place to have great friends, cohort, and academicians also. So I'll again pass it back to you, Katrina.
Thank you, Rash. Wonderful to hear about your experience, and thank you for noting the constraints that you, as emerging market scholar, are having. You are having. Now we'll go to Giuseppe, who is coming from Italy, as I said, from University of Pavia. Giuseppe, can you talk us through your experience and maybe from more European point of being a PhD in a European context?
Yes, sure. So first of all, thank you also on my side to all the participants who are here, and thank you, Katerina, for organizing it and for having me here today. So really few words about me first. So as you already said, I'm Giuseppe Pirrone, postdoctoral research fellow at the University of Pavia, Italy. I recently gained my PhD in applied economics and management at the University of Pavia, jointly with University of Bergamo, Northern Italy, both universities. And I was part of the inaugural cohort of the AIB-CIBER Doctoral Academy. So I already graduated, and I'm currently a member of the alumni network, which is a great way to stay in contact with my peers and all the upcoming cohorts, present and future cohorts. Coming back to my experience into the ACDA, so first of all, I have to say that overall my experience was really positive. So I learned a lot within such program, even if my research interest is not really a pillar into IB research stream. So I would say it is much more into a boundary field between entrepreneurship, international entrepreneurship. But as you correctly pointed out in the introduction, in the presentations, the program is not just for for IB community, but it goes well beyond. Indeed, despite I had not really discussed my research topics, still I learned a lot, like for instance, in terms of methodology to be applied within my dissertation. I still remember while I was working on the second chapter of my dissertation, which is qualitative based, we were doing the course with Rebecca Pieccari, and I found really such an interesting readings in the reading list she provided us, so that I really apply what I learned in the course within my own research. And I really had the chance to discuss with her directly on how to approach things or how to clarify element that was not super clear to me. And if I can add also, imagine discussing about the born global firms with Tamer Kavustil, or to discuss about the global factory with Peter Buckley, or about the evolution and qualitative methodologies with Rebecca Pieccari. I mean, it's incredible. It's something that can happen only in program like this. So it's really something special to me. Plus community creation. So as I said, we have created the community while being within the program, and still the community continue well beyond the 2-year program. Now we are in the alumni network. As Raj mentioned, we all met together in Manchester a few weeks ago, and it was great to stay all together, to get to know also people across the different cohorts. And coming back to your point, Katerina, so what are my perspective being from the a European country, being from Italy, where usually PhD programs are, let's say, structured program with courses. Like in my case, I had courses for the whole first years. So I learned about theories, I learned about methodologies, I learned about research and publications and so on. But as I mentioned, my PhD program was not focused in international business. My PhD program was in applied economics and management. And still in Pavia, we do have a nice group of international business researchers, but still learned a lot by being part of such a CDA. I learned a lot in terms of theories, so I found theories that could fit well into papers I was working on, which were much more IB related. I identify relevant literature, for instance, thanks to the reading list that each professor is providing before the course starts. So you are kind of forced to read, but by reading, you really learn a lot, and then you can discuss and build upon what you learned, what you read, and discuss with peers and discuss with the structures and professors. Then I have to say that it was also incredibly nice to be involved in such a program with different cohort members. So as you said, you have people which have their research topics which are really anchored into IB field, into IB topics, but being also boundaries topics. So keep these different perspectives of the different participants on the same phenomenon, add very much value on the learning, on the takeaways you may have. And also I would like to stress that even if I had courses, the additional courses in my home program, as said, the additional courses from the ACDA was really useful. And even if it requires some effort, to be honest, because you need to be prepared, you need to read, but then you learn a lot. And for me, what it was really important was the synergies that has been created. So it is not just two different programs we are running in parallel, but it is exactly one program in your home institution, which can be enhanced from all the courses and all the path you are following also with ACDA. So that's great. And back to you, Caterina.
Thank you, Giuseppe, and yeah, thank you for mentioning the network, the alumni network. Yes, so after you complete the course, you're not only receiving a certificate, you're becoming part of an alumni network, which is, you know, a network for life, let's say, for academic life. So it's really the community beyond the academy is really a strong feature of why you would like to be a part of such an academy. So it's not just the academic pluses that you are getting, as Giuseppe mentioned, you know, the support in research and everything. It's actually being part of the community and having a familiar faces when you go to AIB, to AOM, or any other conference. Okay, now we go to Ainur, who is also in a European university. She's in Vienna. So Ainur, let's hear your experience as just finishing the first year of the academy.
Yes. So first of all, thank you, Katerina, for organizing this. I remember last year when I clicked in and heard all of these beautiful stories. It just really feels amazing that 1 year has passed by so quickly. And also all the participants, hello from my side. My name is Ainur Temel. I'm from WU Vienna, specifically the Institute of International Business, and I'm in my first year of the cohort, but in my second year of my PhD. So my reflections will be mirroring only the first 3 modules of the Doctoral Academy, as I'm still enrolled and I'm still learning, and I'm looking forward to the next modules as well. So I do have a little the same lens as Giuseppe, right? So coming from a already very structured European PhD, what does the Doctoral Academy provide for add-ons? So my program at WU Vienna is also not short on structure. So we have, also very structured coursework, milestones, teaching that we have to do. But what a structured program cannot really give you is the second point of calibration. So within your own institute, you kind of slowly absorb one sense of what a paper really looks like, one sense of which questions you put yourself or are worth asking. And because everyone around you shares the same sense of how a good paper should look like, you never really notice it as a choice, right? So especially the Doctoral Academy put me in a room with all these people coming from different backgrounds, and host defaults were completely different. And also it gave me the senior scholars outside my supervisory chain, outside of the huge institute that we have at WU Vienna, who have no stake in your dissertation, therefore no say what they actually really think. As Yaraj said and Giuseppe said, that you actually really listen to what your paper should contribute to and what the main mistakes are or weaknesses are, and everyone gives a different perspective of their own. And because it runs across modules rather than a single week, right, those relationship that builds around within these modules, they stay instead of a kind of compound of resetting. So they stay across weeks of no module sessions. They stay when you meet yourselves during conference venues. So that's something very special, and that's something worth highlighting, because PhD can really feel very lonely at some points, and having such a diverse group of friends is very especially worth and yeah, to be grateful for. So to focus on something that the ACDA also gives you as a chance. So the sessions that we have at the Doctoral Academy really reshapes the paper projects that you're doing, or that I was doing. So a method choice, as well as a framing of a question, right? So I don't want to like put too much detail on that, because Giuseppe already has talked about it. But yeah, you start with the first module with the foundations of IB. That kind of changes your philosophy of doing research, and then you go on with the methodologies, how to do qualitative work, how to do quantitative work, how to really dig deep and question every data source, and really also what Shared Beugelstig told us, really question what's in there in the framework that you're using, in the main data set that you're using. That really sounds abstract, but it really has changed how I work with my own data, with my own theory. So it's a slower way to work, but it's really the difference between doing international business research and yeah, that happens, or the realization you get when you're really in contact with those senior scholars, the top scholars that ACDE provides. And yeah, so lastly, just two quick takeaways. This exposure in this generally international cohort really shapes how you think about a good IB research, right? So as you can see, the cohort is spread across India, United States, Europe, and that also exposes different opinions and different defaults. So everyone arrives with a sense of a different training, as Raj mentioned. So sitting with people trained elsewhere makes those defaults visible for the first time, and you really kind of step into this, actually there's other research or other ways of doing out there, and that's possible as well. So yeah, happy to answer any questions if there are at the end of the session.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ainur. And I have to say, Ainur was on the other side of the panel last year, this time, and she's now part of the third cohort. So I really hope that many of you guys who actually joined today will apply and will be part of the fourth cohort. Now we'll go to Daniela. So we heard about Raj, who is coming from a more developing country. Then we heard about, what does it mean being part of the ACDA? That's how we call the academy, by the way, or ACDA, which I just learned recently. We heard about what does it mean to be a PhD student in a European program and attend the academy. Now, Daniela, tell us about, since you graduated recently from your PhD program, tell us about what's your experience with how did you do it on top of the all the other things that you had to do in your home institution. So talk us through how that looked for you the past 2 years.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. So excited to be here talking. As Caterina said, my name is Daniela Rivera Piedra, and I recently just graduated my PhD from Georgia State University in International Business, and I'm going to be an incoming faculty member at University of North Carolina, Greensboro. So very excited about that. I was a part of the second cohort, and the way that it worked in my timeline is that I basically started ACDA, ACDA, in my final 2 years of my program. So I had finished for the more American school PhD structure. I had already finished what was my intensive coursework, as well as I'd already passed comps. And I'd already, I'm pretty sure, passed my proposal defense. So I was more on the back end of now I have to write my dissertation on top of also attending the ACDA modules and courses. So my experience with that is, I say personally, I know Emily, who will soon talk more about a different experience. My experience was more on the back end of I'd already taken classes and was now doing what was easier independent research. And I would say an advantage that being a part of ACDA during that time was for me was in these modules having these expert teachers that we've already all talked about and said about how important the network is. I was being able to continue talking and forming my research that was leading for my dissertation, even during the whole process with the modules. So yes, every module has a specific topic that it's going to focus on, but you'll always find a way to tie what your research is with the concepts that they're talking about. And there might be some modules that make more sense for you to be asking more questions about your research, whether it be the methods, whether it be culture, whether it be sustainability, etc. So I personally enjoyed the fact that even though I was done with what was my regular courses, I was still being a part of some sort of check-in with different instructors that have different points of views with your take on your research. So that's like overall my experience on it. I can keep repeating what everyone has already mentioned of how great and all the opportunities that ACDA talks about, but I don't want to continue reiterating that stuff. I will say one of the things that I've been the most happiest about was the friends you make within your cohort and within across cohorts. So as you're seeing here, I'm a part of cohort 2, but Katarina's the cohort 1, Ainur, Emily are cohort 3, and they're already people that I know I can message if I need any sort of question or any sort of help within my program or personally. I think it's very important in general that you're able to speak with people from different institutions, because if something's happening in your institution and you don't feel comfortable talking to someone in your cohort there, you can always message someone from your cohort and say, does your department do this? Should I be asking for this? What sorts of things can you help me with? So I think that's also a very important thing that this brings. And also, you'll have friends to hang out with during the conferences, which sometimes if you're going to your first conference, it can feel a little lonely. So ACDA makes it that you automatically have someone who will go to sessions with you if you're too shy to go on your own. There was a question in the chat that I wanted to answer that was about what is the actual time and required for the modules. So remember that this is a 2-year commitment that you are signing up for. So it's not something that you can just halfway actually consider being a part of. It's not something to just try to spruce up your CV. We're having instructors, we're having these scholars actually take the time out of their very busy schedules to share their wisdom with us. And so we have to show them that same respect by making sure that we're doing all of the assignments that they're giving us. It is structured very similar to what a PhD course is like. Again, I have the US perspective, right? So it's like a PhD seminar. And so you will have readings sometimes that you have to do beforehand. But they make sure that every module is kind of spread apart. So you're not having 2-3 modules in a row. Like it's never going to be that overwhelming. You're usually going to have once a month or wherever it's scheduled. You're just going to have to dedicate those 3 hours of that day for the module for the time that you're checking in with the instructor. The instructors kind of set the time for you. And there might be readings beforehand, and there might be assignments other hand. So I can't give you an actual how many hours per week, how many hours per month that you're actually going to take. It is just like a regular seminar course. It's more of a crash course because everything is happening like more packed together. But that's something very important to come into when you're thinking about it, is that this isn't something that if you just show up, you're going to get your attendance and you're going to be fine. We're actually wanting to build a community. We're actually wanting to build conversation. So come with the readings, come prepared, talk not only with the instructor, but with the people in your module, because the whole point of this is to make sure that we're really furthering our understanding of all of these different international business topics. And the best way to do that is to have meaningful conversation that's happening across each time and each section. And some of the modules, the instructors, they like to put you in groups and you have to do sorts of presentations. So there is time that you'll have to meet even outside the designated meeting days. Like I said, like any other PhD lecture. And so that also serves as a really good way of engaging more with your cohort members, because this is all online. And so it's very hard to say, I'm randomly going to meet up with one of my cohort members this weekend because one of them is in India, one of them is in London, one of them is in another state. So all that sort of group work also allows you to start actually working better with the people in your cohort, and you might find people who have similar interests or topics with you. So that is something we highlight, that we've had people from the cohorts work together on papers, present at conferences, work towards journal publications. So there is so much benefit that comes from this, but this is something you're signing up for to work towards. So it's definitely something you have to put effort into. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Daniela, and thank you for taking the question. So you started being part of the academy after you passed the courses, and basically you were well into. You had the idea about your dissertation. You started writing the papers, but I think Emily's experience is slightly different because she started in a different stage than you. So let's hear now from Emily. I see that questions are already coming up in the Q&A. So after Emily, we can go to the questions. But Emily, now tell us what was this past 1 year look like, being part of the ACDA, being a mom of two, and actually having classes and work for your PhD.
Yeah, so I'll kind of speak to it, like you mentioned, from being a mother of two. I think that similar but different to Raj's perspective when it comes to accessibility. Well, let me back up. Sorry, let me introduce myself. My name's Emily McAnally. I am a full-time lecturer at Middle Tennessee State University. So I'm in Middle Tennessee. And because I'm a full-time lecturer, I'm working full-time. I'm not a full-time PhD student. So the PhD program I'm doing is a specific program at UNC Greensboro, where Daniela will be joining us in the fall, where they do synchronous online modules. So after my first year in that program, I was able to see just how awesome that format is. It kind of shaped my research interest in global virtual teams in general as well. And because of that, I attended the AIB conference when it was in Louisville last summer. So because I'm in Tennessee, Louisville's right, it's my upstairs neighbor, I guess. I was like, I'll check out this conference. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody. So kind of like Daniela said, it was a little lonely. I was just kind of going from place to place, but I ended up getting checked in by someone with the AIB-CIBER Doctoral Academy tag at the bottom of their name tag. And that's kind of how I found out about this program and attended this just like Ainur and applied. And then now I'm here on the other side of the panel. And so I was able to attend the AIB conference this last year, and just comparing the two experiences was night and day because, like I mentioned, I went to it in Louisville not knowing a soul. And then in this time, I did feel this sense of belonging and community that people have already touched on, where I can oh my gosh, I know who that is. They waved at me, seriously. It was kind of an interesting switch, I guess, in terms of knowing your place. And so, yes, I had only finished my first year of my PhD coursework. Similar to Daniela mentioned, there's 3 years of intensive coursework in the US programs, comps, dissertation proposal defense. So I had only finished my first year, and I will definitely warn you that imposter syndrome can be a big thing right at the beginning. I see Einor maybe is acknowledging that as well. So when you do walk into this program and you only have 1 year under your belt, and you're with people who have already, they're towards the end of their journey or with these senior scholars. At the beginning, I did feel like I didn't maybe have much value to add to conversations, or maybe like I just felt like, what am I doing here? I don't know what I'm talking about. And slowly but surely, like they had mentioned, you put in the time and you really, another thing I appreciated about the virtual format is how it somewhat levels the playing field, I feel like, with a lot of these senior scholars. If I saw them, in their suits in front of a huge lecture hall, I feel like it would be more intimidating than it was approaching them in this virtual environment where, you could see them struggling with technology, or you could see their kid, interrupt them, or they're talking about like a doctor appointment they have. It was something about that format that I felt it really helped with, this power distance that you feel sometimes in academia. And so I think after about half of the year, I started to kind of, okay, maybe I do belong here. Maybe I can contribute to these conversations. And then what kind of has happened now is, I'm entering into my third year of my PhD coursework. And just from this past year in ACDA, I've been able to see like my trajectory far surpass other people in my normal PhD coursework, because as I mentioned, I'm digging deep into some of these concepts that I just felt like, I was taking IB theory last semester in my normal program while we were being taught by people, like I was reading their papers in my PhD classes, and then I'm like having a module with them. So I just feel like I was able to add a lot of value within my normal PhD programming because of this. Um, and so, yeah, I think that's been a big takeaway is the accessibility of the virtual format. As she mentioned, I have two kids, and this is a type of program that I would not normally be able to do if it was an in-person kind of like something within a local university. And so I do really appreciate the accessibility. Being a full-time lecturer also affords me a little bit of flexibility with my schedule where I can get caught up on some of the readings throughout like a regular work day. I'm not sure I could balance it. If anybody is like a full-time working professional, I think it would be a lot. During those weeks that you have those modules, it can be, I felt like there were times when I was spending more of my focus on the ACDA module than my normal PhD seminar at the time. But it kind of had to do with what it was about. When I was in the module with Rebecca Piacari doing qualitative methods and Shore doing all the cross-cultural stuff, I was like, I only have them for this many hours. And so you better believe I'm going to be spending every bit of my time reading every paper so I can ask every potential question and get any sort of feedback during that time. But looking back as a whole, I wouldn't say, I mean, it was definitely worth the time commitment for sure. But yes, kind of like Daniela said, I wouldn't go into it naively thinking that it's just like a little module that's an hour here or something I can kind of do asynchronously. You do have to be kind of dialed in during that time. And then another thing I had that I wanted to talk about is that not only did it kind of help me, like I mentioned in my performance in class, like my normal PhD, it helped me a lot with, I guess, my professional identity as a scholar and as a researcher, because after 1 year, you're figuring out what you're going to do for your dissertation and what your interests are. And I found myself, I'm interested in international HR and global mobility, so expatriate adjustment. And I kind of was really struggling, is this OB or is this IB? Where do I fit? And I think that's something that these modules have really helped me to understand, like the field of IB as a whole and where do I fit into that conversation. So that was another thing that really helped me, was just like figuring out my scholarly identity and what I wanted early on in the journey instead of maybe later in the journey. I think that was a big benefit for the timing, I'd say. So I think that was everything I wanted to make sure I touched on. Oh, and referrals. So I'm doing qualitative interviews with expatriates, and I was reaching out to people because I was struggling. People will not respond to your emails, right, for an interview. And my sample was becoming very homogenous with Western representatives. And so somebody in my cohort in South Africa was like, oh, well, she sent an email and I got like 5 people from Africa that I could have represented within my samples. So things like that is also just these like unwritten, intangible kind of benefits that the network provides too with helping with your research. Okay, I think that's everything I had. Go on, Katerina.
Thank you so much, Emily, and thank you for stressing out this network point. For you, it was recruiting respondents. What I want to actually give a short reflection from my experience is that I already co-authored 3 papers with peers from my cohort, but you don't actually just get access to the peers in your cohort. You get access to the professors who are teaching us, to the governing board of the academy, and you can just approach them and ask them for any advice on a paper, ask them to collaborate on a paper, or just ask them for a recommendation for the job when you're on the job market. So it kind of gives you a network of different levels of scholars. So you have your peers who are emerging scholars, you have your mentors who have already had, let's say, 5 to 10 years of experience in academia, and you have the senior people who, as I mentioned at the beginning, are the leading scholars in IB and related areas. So thank you all for your reflections. We have a few questions in the chat, so I would suggest we go to those ones. So we have Jingjun Chen. Daniela already responded to that, but I would like someone else to also offer their perspective. So he's asked, may I ask how much sense it makes for a later year's PhD to sign up for the Doctoral Academy? Like if I already have an overall idea of what my 3 papers of the dissertation will look like in terms of research design, etc. Thank you. So I think, Giuseppe, you were in that situation, right? When you started, you already had your dissertation. You had most of the things figured out. So what was the added benefit for you to join the academy and on top of the things that you have already figured out?
Yeah, yeah. First of all, you are right, because in Italy, when you apply for a PhD, you already need to have a proposal. You don't need to stick to it, but still it is a guidance. So in my case, I had not already finished, let's say, the 3 articles which then composed my dissertation. So I was a bit more flexible than the colleague in the chat, but still, I would say that yes, you have a stronger guidance. But if I can give my my perspective on this, I would say that from the let's say the ACDA requirement, you are still eligible because you are, let's say, at different stages of your PhDs you can apply. So there is not a strict rule, even if there is preferences for mid-career PhD candidates, we may say, but still you can apply and you can get accepted. And I would say that it is still super valuable because I guess after your PhD, you are still interested into publication and maybe publication in high-ranked journals. So even if for your PhD dissertation you may say, well, that's enough for a dissertation, still the feedbacks you may gather through all the courses along the 2 years programs can shape your papers much better so that you can have a target journal which is much higher than the one you may have had before. So I would say yes, it absolutely makes sense to apply if you think you can get benefit out of it, and if you think you can contribute also for others. I mean, if you are in a later stage of your PhD, you can always share also your experiences, your takeaways, your learnings with younger colleagues. So I would say yes, makes sense to have such a non-homogeneous cohort. So I would apply if I would be you.
I will also add that's a reason that I applied so early is because, there's 40 something people represented here and they only select a certain number. So I say the sooner you apply, the better. You can always, I guess, decline or maybe say no. But I was like, if I don't get in this first one, I want to at least have a year or two like window since it's a 2-year program that I could still maybe apply in the next year if I don't get accepted.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Emily. We will go to the requirements and application process in just a few minutes. Let me see if we have. Noor is asking, should second-year students who are still completing coursework in US attend the program now, or would it be more beneficial to participate after completing their second year and passing the comprehensive exam? We have had many colleagues who actually joined during their coursework, as also Emily shared her experience as well. I would say it depends on your availability. So just be aware that you will have to invest time in preparation, as many of my colleagues mentioned, in preparing for the modules, to be present during the live courses, which Ainur pointed out, they're not recorded. So if you are not there, you lose access to the knowledge. But also attendance is compulsory. So if you don't attend the modules, if you don't have the time to attend the modules, you won't be finishing the module. If you don't finish one module, you're not qualified to finish the whole program as well. So I think it's possible, but just make sure that you are aware of the time requirements that the Academy will be asking from you, and your home program will be asking from you. So if you have the time, go for it. Daniela?
I wanted to add quickly because of the US comps experience of it all and everything. Usually the program is going to make sure to give you ahead of time when the modules are going to be, so you can plan accordingly like that month and be like, okay, well, I know that in March I'm going to have these 2 weeks where I'm going to have at least 2 or 3 sessions for my module. And so you have to plan accordingly. It kind of works in the academic year where you won't have modules during the summer. Like you're not going to be June and July, and I don't think August either. You won't be June and July, August actually having to do a module. So I know my comps, for example, was late May. So personally, I didn't speak to anyone for the entire month of May, but because I was studying. And so it's just understanding that if there was to be a module during that month that you dedicated to studying, you do have to take the time out of your break for studying for comps to do that. So it's just understanding that. If you can move your comps to June, July, that's perfect. But I know not every university allows you that flexibility.
Thank you. Emily, do you have anything to add? You're muted.
Yes, sorry. If you do communicate in advance, so as I mentioned, I teach. So I had a couple of modules where it's like I have in-person classes during this time and this time, or I had a career fair one day I had to attend. They were very flexible and understanding of people popping in and out, but I think it's all about, having that forethought and communicating that in advance. And if you do miss something, making sure that you are still participating. If you have a group presentation, making sure that your group presents first before you have to cut out and then pop back in. And people were also good at sharing notes, like if you did miss an hour and a half, like I would have to sometimes for my in-person class. So don't let it deter you, but just make sure you're gonna have to work ahead, planning, communicating, and then catching up too.
Yes, perfect. Then we have next questions from Putri. I'm also curious on how many people are in one cohort approximately, and what is your tips to get accepted? We can give you guys tips on how to make a good application. It's on the governing board who will decide who will get accepted. Approximately, there are around 10 to 12 people in a cohort. But as someone mentioned before, we are receiving more than 60, 70 applications from all around the world. So it's very important that you prepare a really good application. We will talk about the requirement in just a bit. Let's see what are the other questions. From from my second year, I'll need to work full-time alongside the PhD, so timing is critical for me. Could you please tell us what time of day the module sessions usually run, and whether the schedule is fixed or varies by module? So the schedule, you usually get the schedule before the few weeks or a month before the module. It's fixed, so usually it's a time zone that is acceptable for everybody. So maybe someone from the third cohort can remember when were the classes starting, but I think it was like doable time for everybody. For someone was morning. Ainur?
Yes, I mean, it really depends. For the US people, the earliest was, I think, 6:30 or 7 a.m. in the morning, but that was an exception. So usually it's very a friendly time, hours. Yeah. Emily?
I can type them in the chat while you're answering other questions. Like I can go back on my calendar and I can type in the chat what they were for this last year to give you an example.
For the US, yeah.
For the US, I mean, I'll do it. I'll transfer it, but I'll put it in there.
Perfect, thank you. The other question is, as a DBA candidate from Latin America whose research focuses on mining companies in Peru and Chile, I would like to ask what qualities and experiences does the selection committee particularly value when selecting participants for the next cohort? Thank you. So I don't think that we have any DBA candidate currently on the call. I can say that in my cohort, in the first cohort, we had 2 people, if I'm not wrong, who are doing a DBA. And I don't think that doing a classic PhD or doing a DBA is per se a benefit or a disadvantage when you apply. The application per se is more focused on you as a candidate, your motivation. So you have to really show a strong motivation why you want to be part of the academy. What will be the benefit for you as an emerging scholar that you expect to get from the academy? How will you contribute to the classes, to the ongoing conversation, as my colleagues mentioned? So I think the most important thing is that you show that you are a serious candidate who will commit their time and resources in these 2 years to, first of all, contribute to the conversations during the classes. Second of all, contribute to the community, because as many of us mentioned, you're entering a community. So first you're contributing to this community, but then we do some kind of service as well, contributing to the wider IB and AIB community as well. So it's not a disadvantage that you are a DBA candidate. If you have any more questions, maybe you can drop us an email and we can put you in contact with some of the DBA candidates. And if you have any specific questions regarding your situation and how they navigated the course, but I would say that it's totally up to the quality of the application that matters when the panel is deciding who will be selected or not. I think
we should talk about the application process real quick.
Exactly. So I was just checking if there are more questions. I don't see that there are any other questions. So I will share my screen real quick just to talk you guys through the application. So the application for the 4 cohort opened on 15th of July, and it will stay open until 15th of August. So Daniela will put the links just now in the chat, where you can see more about the academy and access the application. So it's a very simple application form where you will have to, as I said, state your motivation, why you want to be part of the academy, how the academy will contribute to your development, and how you will contribute to the classes. Then you're asked to record a 3-minute, I think it was a 3-minute video from yourself, where you speak about your motivation, a little bit more than what you have written in the letter. So really showcase your passion, showcase your character, showcase that you are the one to be selected in this premier doctoral academy. So just do the best to be the best self in the video. And you will have to have a recommendation letter from your supervisor, advisor, or program director. So saying that this academy will actually complement your current training, will be very good for you, very beneficial for your development, and that they support your application and kind of are guaranteeing for you that actually you will invest your time and resources in completing successfully the academy. So as I said, the applications are open 2 more weeks until 15th of August. Simple form, and before we close kind of the webinar regarding the application, I would ask all my colleagues just to offer 1 or 2 advices, like what do you think made your application stand out when you applied, or any suggestions of the guys attending today how to do it. So we'll start with Emily.
So this is something I asked Alexander Ton. He was in cohort 1, and I met him at last AIB in Louisville, and he said, be authentic. So that was the biggest piece that I took to heart was, as I mentioned, I was only in cohort 1, so I was like, I can't pretend like that's my strength is like methods and all this stuff. So I really leaned into, like you mentioned, what I was interested in. And then of course, like I think one of my strengths being community building in general. And so I don't know why I was selected, but I do think that something that I am good at is like bringing a group together and like referring different people to different things. And so I just tried to lean into those strengths and not try to fake, like, oh, you should choose me because I know this and this, because I don't, So I kind of think that was a good piece of advice, is to just really be your authentic self. And then it's all about group dynamics. And so I think I was the only qualitative person in my, no, that's not true. Margarita, she does case studies. But I think that that is something that they look at, like how the group fits together, maybe as a whole. So we all have very different interests. And so I just was like, this is what I'm interested in. And then I guess they chose me because it made sense as like a cohesive unit. I'm not even sure how they choose, to be honest. So be your authentic self.
Exactly. None of us is sure what they look for exactly, but the authenticity is very important. Just be yourself and be authentic, which I remember I gave that advice to Ainur as well last year. So Ainur, what will be your piece of advice?
So I won't be covering that, but I would also stress in this video, or whatever you put it, why you really want to apply, because I think this is also a big thing, right? What is your motivation? Because your motivation, again, gives a hint of how you will actively participate in the community during the sessions, because that's really important. If you do not see your own purpose, or you cannot openly state your purpose of being part of this community, I think this will be a tricky choice. But just be really clear about that you want to participate and that you want to be a part of this huge family. Yeah.
Yes, the motivation is very important. So really, really, really speak about why you, and why this matters to you. So Raj, let's hear what your advice would be for our panelists.
Yeah, just adding to the Emily and the Ainur point, like you all have to be like very much authentic to yourself in the video, and you have to just start early. Don't perform a generic ideal applicant. You have to show the specific questions that is going to keeping you up and the night or the whole day, and what your background actually lets you see that the others cannot see. So that under quotation distinctiveness is the whole point. You have to bring your distinctiveness to it.
Great
Maybe
point. And just to add to the distinctiveness, when I applied, I was a little bit intimidated because I was like, oh, I'm coming from a marketing program. So okay, I read GIFs, I read Journal of World Business. I have these legendary professors who are my idols, and I cite them, but will I get accepted? But the academy is really looking for distinctiveness and interdisciplinarity. So don't be discouraged if you are not coming from an IB program, because IB programs, how many of us are coming actually from an IB program? Daniela is, Ainur is, but the rest of us are, from other fields which are connected to IB. So don't let that to be a disadvantage. So Giuseppe, what will be your advice? And how
Yeah,
did you apply? Because we were the first ones, we couldn't
yeah.
hear any experiences. So
Oh, yeah.
what was your motivation?
I mean, I'll be super short. Also given the time, um, I would like to stress one of the points you said, Katerina, because I really think it's super relevant in this context. Because to me, when I applied, it was important to stress why I value the ACDA in my own path. But I also believe it is super important to stress the other way around. So, what can you bring into the program? So, show that you are really motivated and you will be an active participant, because then the community will benefit out of your own participation. I mean, I'm not saying to overclaim. So, you, as Emily said, you don't need to say things that are not true. You must be honest. You must be, a fair application, but still show what you can actually bring into the program. And as a piece of int, also have a close look to the website. I mean, it's boring to say, but there are so many good ints in there. You can have a look into the programs, into the lectures you will go through. And maybe if in your application, you can by chance touch upon some points in there. So, this is already a hint that you're interested into the programs, you read the website, you are interested into the subject, and you value those specific subjects in your path. So this is my hint. You're
I
muted,
was
Kate.
muted. Yeah, sorry. That was a great point, actually. It's like a job application. Think of it. Not that stressful, maybe, but show that you are a fit with the academy, that you have already know what is it. You're not just, applying the last day and just going to check your luck. So show that you have done your research and really make that clear in the video and in the letter. And last but not least, Daniela, your piece of advice?
Yes, very quick piece of advice since everyone has already given the best advice that they can. I don't think this is why they did it, but I think the reason there's a video instead of just the usual write a cover letter and send your CV is because you want to show who you are to them, right? So please don't be like our undergrad students who are just reading off the PowerPoint in front of them. Don't be monotone. Do something that really lets them see what type of a person you are, because at the end of the day, this whole thing is about networking and talking to people and getting to meet people and getting to know people, and the best way to do that is already just trying to show who you are. And so take advantage that it's a video. Take advantage that it's a video. It doesn't have to be perfect. Mine wasn't. I think I recorded 6 tries and I had every single try some sort of blooper. I cannot follow a script. I don't know if it's obvious by how I've been talking this entire time, but just back to the authenticity, back to everything. Just take advantage that you're getting an extra thing that when you apply for a job, you don't get. You don't get to send videos when you apply to a job. You just write a cover letter. Anyone can write a cover letter, but not anyone can record this video that gives them an insight to who you are. So take advantage.
Wonderful. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to all the attendees. Apologies for keeping you a little bit longer. We started a few minutes later because of technical issues. But thank you for the IB support team as well. If you have any questions, you can find the links in the chat, so you can go to check the website, and there is the mail to the AIB Secretariat. You can ask them any question regarding the application, and we really look forward to see everybody who attended to the apply. And some of you actually joining the fourth cohort, and see you next year in Kuala Lumpur for the AIB annual, AIB annual conference, let's say, meeting. So have a lovely rest of the day, rest of the week, and thanks again for joining. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.